Welcome to Unity of Charlotte. It is so good to have you here because today is an important day. Today is the day of our annual meeting, and I am excited. Let's open our service and let us acknowledge that you are all welcome here. This is Unity of Charlotte, where our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. And I'm reminded, especially this morning, as I go about my preparations along with all of you for this annual meeting. And simply put, everything that we do is about loving, growing, and serving. I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and I'm so glad that you joined us this morning here in the sanctuary, on Zoom, or in YouTube. So let's start today's service by sharing together our statement of oneness. So say with me, there is one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God the good, omnipotent. I am going to talk briefly about the principles of unity. It has been my pleasure over the last couple of years to serve on the Board of Trustees, and I have been so aware of how we on the board connect and do all of our business by being in alignment with Spirit. Because we know that is how you manifest. We are here on this plane to experience life and to experience joy and prosperity in everything that we do. And if we're getting different results from that, then we have to go back into our alignment again. And it is through our alignment that we recognize the divine in others and the divine in ourselves, which is always here. And as we manifest, and that is our number one priority, at Unity and with our Board of Trustees, which is to manifest both for ourselves, for our board, and for our community. Alignment is essential. And so join with me right now in an alignment as our prayer. Taking in a deep breath and releasing it. And settling into place, becoming comfortable, letting the chair support you. And breathing again, becoming ever more relaxed as you exhale. And once more, breathing in and releasing it. And knowing with me, recognize your heart center, which is a place kind of behind the physical heart, but along the spine. And as you do this, and as you do it in your own meditation practice, it feels a little bit warm. And it's such a delightful feeling of reassurance, of comfort. And you actually can see the light right there along the spine. And allow that light to rise. Rise up to the throat area. The throat is a very important area. It is the area of our speech. It is an area of our expression. It is an area of our freedom to know what's right for us and to speak it and to have it heard by others. And from this beautiful communication place of freedom of expression, we move upward to that area just above the eyes and just out about 5 inches, the ajna, and focus your attention on that space and continuing to breathe fully, letting it in and out and relaxing even further. Move up to your crown area. Knowing that it is in the alignment of our mind, as well as our emotions, as well as our physical. It brings us in tune with the soul's desire, and further, our connection with all of the lights that we belong to and that belong to us. And from this place, we know that all is in divine order today. Just as the sun rises and sets, and just as the earth turns on its axis, divine order flows easily and harmoniously through me and through all, as it's arranged in beautiful alignment with all of life, with all beautiful song, and with the progression of the sequence of divine order. And then I know prosperity, the prosperity of this beautiful unity teaching that says that prosperity is all of life, the expression of life and the life that flows through me. Yes, I have comforts. And yes, I have adequate supply. But I have transportation. I have a roof over my head and a warm home that shelters me and keeps me safe. It keeps me safe because the divine resides in my home as it does in my heart. And in this time of life, I get to know the prosperity of being surrounded by loved ones, by a spiritual teaching that supports me to know and live the truth, and also the idea, the divine idea of a fuller experience of life. Because I am supported in that as well, as I manifest in my own life, and no matter what happens or comes my way, I have the resources. You see, all is well with my soul. And knowing that all is well with my soul means that I am beautifully and perfectly aligned as above and so below. I know that I continue to function in faith and reassurance that in my life, I am evolving perfectly. And in my spiritual community, it is evolving perfectly and in divine order. I belong to a collective spiritual group that is evolving harmoniously and in perfect order, in alignment with the unity teaching, this wonderful wisdom that guides all that I am and all that I have and all that I express in divine order. And so it is. Join with me in saying, I am the divine expressing. And so it is. Amen. And a beautiful song by the choir in strong voice this morning. We like that and we appreciate you. Thank you again for being with us this morning here in the sanctuary, which is beautiful and filling up, and also on Zoom and YouTube. On this particular Sunday, we are moving forward with our annual meeting, and we will then close with prosperity as well as our closing circle. Join with me right now in our affirmation for both our new minister and our new meeting space. And we will know that the new minister as we say the words that are on the screen. We affirm the presence of a new spiritual home for Unity of Charlotte that fulfills every need for space and use in order to support and share our unified purpose to love, grow, and serve. And so it is. And so as we open up our annual meeting, which is now at 9:45 in the morning, and we have already stated our prayer, which leads us into our process. I just want to say to you that it has been my joy to be president of the Board of Trustees. I was well prepared because of the leadership of the board the prior year under the careful guidance of Alan Batten. And I remain on the board and I remain very active. And this morning we will have a voting process which will bring in one or more new board members and one or more new alternates. And so I did share with you in prayer form a few of my sentiments. So just stay with me for about 3 minutes before we move into the rest of our actions today. I spoke this morning in our prayer about divine order. I identified for myself 3 important keys that have guided the Board of Trustees over the time that I've been part of it. And divine order is very, very important because if you set the intention as a board for your entire community that everything flows from divine order, guess what happens? A lot of good stuff, right? So I am very pleased to have been part of, I've done business in many places in my professional career, as well as my spiritual journey. And I do know establishing divine order in any activity, whether it's in my home, whether it's a family party, whether it's a board meeting or a service, guides things ever so beautifully and ever so musically in harmony. And so that which appears chaotic or without reason suddenly or eventually becomes clear. And look at what has happened in our world over the last couple of years. The appearance of chaos is moving in the direction, especially in the area of COVID. There is more and more resolution. Now, your mind can run to the negative. Mine does sometimes too, just saying. But we have a vaccine, we have boosters, we have moved past several tides of rising and then falling, and it is moving in the right direction. And of course, while we have been searching for a minister, the truth is we've had 2 years of some pretty interesting times in this church, and our prosperity has evolved because we've been able to sell the building and we have a very nice, solid, preserved, and safe basis for moving into a new space. And you'll hear more details about our minister search. We remember in all the things we do, personally in life, I look at my many friends around the room, when a chaos appears, we look for divine symmetry. And when it shows up, we say, Alleluia, and we let that energy move us forward. And we have done that time and time again in our personal lives, in our Unity of Charlotte family, and we are doing the same. I say that with a positive note, related to what is going on in the world. We have to look for the unfoldment, and we have to align as we state our intentions. And so I did mention prosperity, and part of the joy of being on the board is the ease with which we resolved our financial issues and we are moving forward. And one thing, I may not remember to say it when I talk about the minister search, but what we offer for our ministerial candidates, to the person or persons that come in as ministers, is a very nice package. In fact, I've been told it's the nicest package out there of the 45 Unity churches that are looking for ministers. And that is part of why I believe we keep getting candidates. We do it because we are in divine order. Our intention is clear. The specifics are clear of what we are expecting. And we have a prosperity consciousness, and that is coming about. And in our prosperity consciousness, we did devote about 7 months in portions of each board meeting to prosperity, where we talked about our own prosperity and our own way of continuing our prosperity. And in that way, I got to know people at a deeper level on the board. We also started, again, something that had been put off to the side, our tithing to Unity Worldwide. And so, our house is in order for the future. I am deeply appreciative that, and you'll hear a little more about this later, that our community outreach under the guidance of Michael Brown has recommitted to urban ministry, and that is underway. So you see, the financial needs of our Unity community, our church, are being attended to, and prosperity consciousness continues to unfold. And the fuller experience of life, I personally have experienced how much better life gets when you're in service. Now, what does in service mean? Well, I had to do some corrections in my life because, I was a busy woman, 3 kids, husband, volunteer work all my life, running here, running there. I think you get the drift of what I had to correct. It isn't giving and then being left empty. And at this point in my life, the idea of service has come into full expression, where I feel even fuller for my 2 years on the board than I ever would have dreamt. It isn't an emptying out, it's a filling up. And so I appreciate the learning and the deeper understanding for myself. As being part of the Board of Trustees and Unity of Charlotte is a greater awareness of spirit as we go about joyful contributions and receiving. And so those are my comments as we move into all of the things that we're going to present to you during this annual meeting. One thing that I would like you to do, we're going to have about 3 parts to this. I would like you to hold your questions to the end. Now, you may have some questions about the nominations as we move through that. And as we do that, I'd be glad to address any of those questions unless they really need to go to the end. So bear with me, we'll get it all done and all of your questions will get answered in the best order I can put them in. All right. And now I have to stay our first, see, Alan, he does such a good job for me, but the fonts are still small, Alan. He's going to help me out. First off, I have to read the bylaws, but you have to tell me where they are.
Well, they were here.
They might be still here. All is well. All is well. All right. We're going to do nominations first and then finances afterwards, right, Alan?
Right.
Okay. All is well. Thank you, Alan. I do read the bylaws so that you can be comfortable that we are operating according to our bylaws. That's very important to us. So Article 6, Section 6.14, nominations and elections, qualifications. A candidate for the Board of Trustees or a person or persons selected as an alternate must be a member of Unity of Charlotte as defined under Section 4.01. The person desires to serve on the board, endeavors to live in accord with Jesus the Christ principles of love, truth, and service as taught by Unity Worldwide Ministries. 3, furthers the work of this ministry through her active commitment, interest, love, and financial support. Is a sincere and continuing student of Unity, conversant with its teachings, who participates in Unity classes and other educational opportunities offered at Unity of Charlotte, has demonstrated leadership capabilities, and has been a member of Unity Charlotte for at least 6 months prior to the election, and has demonstrated commitment and service to Unity of Charlotte for at least this period of time. The Section 6.18 election procedure to the Board of Trustees. The election shall be by ballot if there are any partial terms to be filled or there are more than 2 nominees. The result of the vote shall be announced at the annual meeting. The 2 nominees receiving the largest number of votes will be elected to a full 3-year terms, and the candidates receiving the next highest number of votes will be elected to the longest unexpired terms. Alternates to the board shall be the members receiving the next highest votes. Those are the bylaws. All right. And now, we've had some changes this morning. It's all fine. We have two openings related to the board. We've had no changeover in 2 years. And I want to say that, Lawrence, do you have a message for me or no?
Green light.
Say?
Green light.
Green light. He will correct me if I need correction. So, because I am fully backed. I mean, no matter what happens, no matter when it happens, even if it happens at the very last minute, we're golden here. You know, the one time that our sound system didn't work and Reverend Robin couldn't speak, and all of a sudden, I leaned over to Reverend Ned and he said, I was supposed to talk next week, but I'll do it this week. And up he got, and people came up to me afterwards and said, what just happened? You planned that, didn't you? I said, actually, no, this is the way it goes at Unity. Everything gets taken care of. So we have a candidate. We have two openings. Lawrence Tolliver's term has expired, and he is running again for another 3-year term. And I am delighted to say that. And then we have one opening for another person. We did have a candidate, and then for personal reasons, they dropped out at the very last minute. And that's okay. That's okay. So go ahead, Lawrence.
I choose to nominate Michael here to the board of directors.
Okay.
Trustees.
So because of the right consciousness and the right people stepping up, we now have the second candidate. Now, Margaret Wells is going to join me up here. Our candidates are Lawrence Tolliver and Michael Barden. And so I'm handing this over to you, Margaret. You go.
Oh.
We're doing it all exactly right. So we read from the.
Put mine right there. Okay. Good morning, y'all. Okay, I call for a voice vote.
Very close.
For a voice vote by acclamation. All in favor of Lawrence Tolliver, say aye.
On Zoom, have they received the request? Alan?
Well, you have to tell them if they are objecting, raise their hand.
Okay. I will step in here to make life easy for Margaret. For our Zoom participants, you have the ability to raise your objection on Zoom. Are there any objections on Zoom? And giving them just a moment, no objections. And so,
hearing no opposition, Lawrence Tolliver has been voted to the board. Yeah. Right now, we'll call for a voice vote by acclamation. All in favor of Michael Barden, say aye.
aye. And now for the Zoom. Brandon, pardon? Okay, good. That was another aye. And we are good there. And now for the Zoom, we're good on the Zoom participants. And so.
Now we have an announcement of nominating.
No, you just
Oh.
go to Michael Barden has been voted to the board.
Oh.
Yeah.
Michael Barden has been voted to the board. Next, an announcement of nominating committee chair is Michael Barden. So I call for nominations of nominating committee chair. Michael Barden has submitted his name. Are there any other candidates for nominating committee? Okay. So I call for a voice vote by acclamation. All in favor of Michael Barden, say aye.
Aye.
About Zoom.
Any opposed? None. And to the Zoom group, all clear. They are in favor. Make the announcement.
Okay, Michael Barden has been voted to chair the nominating committee. Here.
We are going to, we're going to replace this name with Gil Spears.
Okay. Yeah,
All right.
Shandon and Gail. Okay, I call for a voice vote by acclamation.
We have now the category of alternates. All right. And let me explain a little bit about this. The alternates, we have always had alternates as available. I have to stand close to the screen. And we have decided, because of growing our congregation and the many leadership people we have in the congregation, to fill alternate positions. And we do have 2 alternate positions to vote in today. And Margaret will take you through that process.
Okay, I will call for a voice vote by acclamation. All in favor of Shandon Singh, say aye. No.
Opposed? None?
None.
And Zoom? We're good. So Chandan Singh is one alternate, and our other alternate is Gil Spears. And we have to nominate him first. We
By acclamation, huh?
Madam
All right.
President.
Yes,
I
yes.
choose to nominate, Madam President, I choose to nominate Gil Spears, who is a long serving member of the congregation. He has been in service every Sunday, and he understands all of the principles and lives them. So I nominate Gil Spears for the second vacancy in our alternate board of trustee members.
We thank you so much for that. And now that we have a nomination, is there any other nomination? And hearing none, I'm handing it over to Margaret to get the vote.
And we'll take a call up for a vote, a voice vote by acclamation for Gil Spears. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
None.
None.
And on Zoom.
Okay, so Gil Spears has been voted to the position of advisory board member.
Thank you very much.
are
You and
very
I were
welcome.
quite the team today. It was a trio with Lawrence, and so we thank you. Thanks, Margaret. Give her a round of applause. She's stepped up in quite a number of ways during this COVID thing and has been an important member on our ministerial search, along with under the guidance and leadership of Fred Monroe. And so I am grateful to now have that over with. We're complete and we are good. And now we are ready to move over to our financial report.
You all are amazing. Absolutely knocked my socks off and all the way to Gastonia. Because, you know, they have a lot of socks in the dryer at Gastonia. What is so amazing is that this year, in the time of COVID, in the time of reduced attendance, Unity of Charlotte actually cleared a profit. And it is all thanks to you. Our income was $65,900 and some dollars. Our outgo was $60,833, which meant we had $5,000 that we put back into the operation of the building. We have some very, very good finance people. Michael Brown, Michael Brown and Shandon Singh and I are on a finance committee. And we found a good place to put a good chunk of money that made a good bunch of interest. Yeah. For those of you who are wondering, it's Town Bank. Our next year's operating budget is a WAG. WAG stands for Wild Mule Guess. We have structured next year's budget to be able to pay for a minister full-time for the last quarter of the year. And up until that point, we have budgeted some interview monies for people to come in to talk. But right now, the wild mule is just out there being wild. Our annual projection is $145,546. Our annual projection of expenses is $145,511, leaving us the amount of money to buy a box of cigars for $35. But it is you who are doing it. It is very, very, very heartfelt when I go through the contributions every week. And I see people who haven't been in this building for about 2 years still supporting us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we will continue to watch our expenses and value your contributions. That's all I have for finances. Watch those wild mules.
What consciousness Unity of Charlotte has. We're all in a very good place. And now it will be my opportunity to do my report. And if I forget something, I've got friends in the audience who will remind me.
I'll try to refrain.
Please don't. He's doing charades for me, and I'm not, before, and I wasn't reading them all that well. I was like, nominating? What? Nominating what? So anyway, but it's all fine. It's really fine. I want to talk about minister search. I want to talk about a new location for the church. And I probably will have a couple of other things that I'll share with you. It has been my joy and pleasure to be on the Minister Search Committee over the period of time that we've been working. And it's been fascinating to me. I've met a few people along the way and had developed some online telephone relationships too with Unity Worldwide and with UMass and with people in the Southeast. And that's been delightful. So to put it in a succinct, Fred stepped up as chair for that group. We'd been meeting for a little while, and then I said, Gosh, I need somebody to chair this committee. There are a lot of moving parts to this. Who's going to volunteer? And Fred volunteered. Do you remember that? He doesn't remember it. I don't know why he doesn't remember it. I said, if you don't speak up, Fred, you're it. That's what I said. So we call that to be voluntold. So Fred voluntold and then did an amazing job, because it's not just moving the candidates through. And that's what Margaret did. She was the conduit for the candidates, but then Fred had to do all of this logistical stuff. And of course, he loves to do things perfectly because he's a scientist. I can't help it that he's a scientist and he wants to do everything right. But then he got all the logistics just right, and things moved very, very smoothly. And I won't go into all of those logistics. A lot of you were participating in the Sunday service, and the board entertained in a dinner the major candidates that made it through the process. And we're continuing that. So we interviewed and vetted 5 candidates. Okay, that's been a lot of work. And now there are more in the works. We still have 1 candidate who is still in the flow, and we have several more candidates that have stepped up. So I want you to stay tuned. This is what's going on. It is manifesting as we're experiencing it. More people are stepping up. They like the package. They're attracted to the unity of Charlotte, and Charlotte is a great place to live, right? So we've got more in the flow, and please continue to know that we are moving and manifesting our fine and perfect minister. And so I'm not going to talk specifically about the people who are in the flow, but please know we want to keep you in the know when the time is right, when we've done all of our homework. We want you to know who they are. We'll be announcing their names, and we'll be letting you know a little bit about that as we get to that part of the process. So we are in fine shape, as Alan has said with his wild mule guess on our budget. The truth is we've been budgeting for a minister because we had to be on the cautious side for the last quarter of 21 and the first quarter of 22. Now we haven't had those expenditures. We've just had the vetting expenditures. So we're in good shape, and we've got fabulous Sunday speakers. Aren't they great? Let's hear it for our Sunday speakers. Amazing. Amazing. So, and Alan was patting his own back. He's the one who does it. I haven't heard a single true complaint from him. He whines from time to time, but he never complains. He does Course in Miracles, and he's so unity, he never complains. All right, I hear a whimper every once in a while, and that means I better support him and help him a little bit, but it's all good. So that's it for the minister search. Hold your questions to the end if you would. And I will stay in front of the camera because I'm being invited to do so. And now I'm going to talk about the search for a location. Now, I want to start out by saying we have a fine relationship with our Sikh community. They have stepped up and done a variety of things for us. We had a situation a few weeks ago. You saw us with our a few issues related to our own technology, and they actually stepped up. I have a very fine relationship with their chair of the board, Harpreet, and she is she made it possible because our router was not even able, we weren't able to resuscitate it. So they let us get on their router and for an interim as we were doing the replacement of our router. This is all routine stuff, but isn't it great to have somebody who will help you out? And so we do appreciate our Sing community, and let's hear it for them. Let's give them a round of applause. And with all that, we are constrained in terms of space. Now, the space constraints are largely due to, we have a small room in the back, which is the prayer room. It can only hold so many people, and limited use of the sanctuary. But you know what? We've managed to make it work. We've managed to make it work. It's a short-term solution. I've had very frank discussions with Harpreet, who takes it to their board, but they are kind conversations, and they're always done in a supportive way, mutually supportive. I will, and I have been very open with them that as we get our congregation back and as we're doing more things in person, our needs are going to exceed the availability. However, this is what they've done for us. We're on a month-to-month lease. We are not constrained at all. And this is because of a gentlewoman's agreement that a gentle person's agreement that we will let them know what we have got to let them know as we know it and as it comes to us. So sort of our minister search, when we're really ready to onboard that minister, when we have plans for the future that require more space, and what our deadlines are. And so those are very open and fine conversations. If she's got something to tell me, she texts me and we get on the phone together. So I think it's really in divine order. And I think it's in divine order that this Sikh community was in a position and able to buy this building, and we are delighted for them. So just know we are getting our minister, and we have our spiritual home that is coming to us. And we have a number of people in our Unity of Charlotte that I expect are going to step up and help us find that space. I think spring is the time we're going to see more real estate locations come into the flow, and we're going to align with one of them, and they're going to align with us. So let's continue to know that to be our truth. I am not going to say an awful lot about education and things that we've got planned for the future. Maria's going to talk about a few of those, and we're right on time for that announcement. I would simply say to you, the board had discussed the possibility of doing a survey at this annual meeting, but we also decided that given the heavy agenda and the time allowable, we want to do a survey of your preferences, your interests, things for the future, and we want to do it in a very engaging way. So we are saving that for the near future. Stay tuned for that. Your vote, your opinions, your ideas, your divine ideas are very important to us, and they are going to shape what we are going to do over the coming months. And we've been talking to you and guessing at those things, but again, you're going to be able to have a conduit where you can share all of those ideas, and then we're going to be working on making those come true. I want to say over the last year, our two, it seems like they've been on the board forever. Barbara, Rolf, and Maria have been so important to everything that we've done that I can't remember a time they weren't with us. I have been well taught by Barbara's classes and meditation series. Her generosity has been extraordinary. Maria continues to work behind the scenes and work closely with Michael on community inreach and outreach and all matters on the board. And she speaks with thoughtful authority and great wisdom. And so I invite Maria up now for the next part of this report. my sister.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, okay, great. Okay, there we go. Okay, I'm going to be talking about some accomplishments that we've had through the year. Again, my name is Maria, and I've been delighted to work to be part of the board this past year. You all know me as in the past with the Youth Ed. And well, I'm happy to, I'm going to read a little bit from my list, but enriching our connection to spiritual growth and loving service through our very active group circles. Leadership circle, aiding and supporting express needs of all our groups circles, compassionate care groups, prayer groups, and weekly intention. Our leadership group circle really, it has mainly been mostly members of the board and a few other members. And what that group does, besides the board gatherings and the board meetings, we gather together to hammer down any situation that we feel that needs to be taken care of. An example is we have a program, part of the compassionate care group that we call the We Care Circle. And the We Care Circle was birthed around the time that we have Reverend Marty, but we have truly implemented it in the last year, or we're trying to revise it more, and that is in the leadership of Rita Pesor. Margaret, it works on that committee, and myself. And what that committee really does is communicate. We try to communicate with our members of the church, with all of you. There are times that we send out an email, and some of the members of our church do not receive emails. So what we have gotten together is to find ways to communicate with those people that need a phone call. You know, we are in such a technological world, and it's so easy to text someone, but some people, they just don't have that ability, or they just don't do it. And we are brainstorming. We still continue to work. Sometimes we just don't see people. One of the things that also with the communication is to communicate to you, our congregants, our family. It's that when you don't feel well, or there's a situation that you need support, we really need to know. And you can reach to me, Maria, or you can reach to Alan at the Unity, or somehow, so that we can help out in whichever way possible, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a card, whether it's a prayer. There's so much that we can do. At least for me, experiencing situation that we experience, we all gonna experience it, but we don't have to go at it alone. It's really and we have had technical issues with our computer because we've had to change our computer. We've lost some of our members' contact, and then they have not, sometimes things that we want to communicate, we're not able to. And then we find out later that somebody didn't hear about it. And that's not what we want. So the We Care, it's playing kind of a double role here. We're trying to stay connected to our congregants. Our prayer ministry has stayed active. The weekly intention meditation group that meets on Tuesday with Barbara, that has been a lifeline. We have spiritual education through growth, weekly dialogue as service, the path of intention, group growth with addition of new members from our side. So that goes on during the week. We also have the weekly Course in Miracles, the book club that meets every I think it's the third Sunday of the month. That one is with Reverend Pat and Reverend Jim Fuller. They have really stepped up and stayed with that and make that a beautiful, beautiful program for our church. the men's group, headed by Michael Brown. Community building also by Michael Brown. I work on the in-reach part of that. Also, this past year, we had part of that community building. There was a workshop that Michael provided, and that workshop was very in-depth and to help us really pinpoint in ourselves what community building is all about. Sometimes we think we have an idea, but sometimes we have to do a little bit of deeper work. And he took us there, and there is the planning of a future, another workshop. As soon as we can physically meet together, that we can actually, because that kind of is very in-depth work that needs for us to be in person. It was done, the last time it was done in person, it was very good. And we are, that's part of the intention that we have to make sure that those programs come about to happen. And it's in the works. The other, okay, so we have also community, Sunday service group, the audio back there with Alan, audio and visual, hospitality ushers with, and the choir. Let's not forget the choir that we have had. That is something that it's a big accomplishment that through COVID and through Zoom, we've been able to have a live choir, and that is wonderful. The last thing is about youth ed. We have not gathered together with our youth, mainly because of COVID, other space and stuff, but mainly COVID that we have not. But I have stayed working, planning, not giving up, educating myself as much as possible, and also meeting with, there's been a great interest from the youth ed directors and ministers from the North Carolina Unity at getting together for information, learning whatever we can, how we can grow our youth ed. It is a very important part of the unity movement. Without our youth, we just can't imagine. And so we are very grateful that that's happening. I'm preparing. There's a lot of intentions and a lot of preparation going, so that as soon as we're able to meet with our children, that we can have a team together. Service is a very big part of unity, but it's very big part of my life as well. I think that that there's a saying that says that when I got busy, I got better. There's no ailment that I can have that a good service. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little down and depressed, I look for what is it, where can I do a little bit of service? Who can I make a phone call to someone, or I do something, because I think that is what gets us out of ourselves. And it's part of the circulation that Myrtle Fillmore and Charles Fillmore spoke. And also to do it with joy, with love. The one thing I'm going to tell you that that I have experienced with youth ed and with the board now, and with every committee that I have been part of in Unity, I've never had to do it all by myself. And I've never had to go there and reinvent the wheel. I've always had someone walking me through, helping me learn it. I was terrified to go into the board. I have served in this church in just about everything, from chaplain to the hospitality. And I have, but the board was frightening for me. But guess what? In the leadership of Pat and Lawrence and everybody else, and the support of everybody else, it has been easier for me. It has been a very nice experience. I'm very grateful. So if I left anything out, I'm sure that Pat will pick it up. And but I just want to say that we've had a lot of accomplishments, but we envision a lot more accomplishment. We envision having all of us gathered together in person and having a youth ed and being able to hug ourselves pretty soon. So blessings.
Beautifully and eloquently said, Maria. Thank you so much. I'll try not to trip you. And we now move into the end of our service. And I want to thank you all for your patience. I will open up for questions. And so questions, raise your hand and I'll be glad to answer them or have somebody else answer them. And I think we've done such a good job. And I'm also noting the time. So I am going to move to the close of our service. We will not have the prayer room open at the end of service today. Our Board of Trustees meets for their important work just following the annual meeting. So we wish you well. We wish you to have a wonderful day. We thank you for being with us. We're moving into our offertory. And I just want you to say, again, repeating just briefly what Alan has said. Thank you for your prosperity consciousness. Thank you for living the ideas that make your life prosperous and supporting our own community. I hand it over as we do our offertory. We will say the prosperity blessing and then our choir will sing. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.